Democrats and Republicans uniting in a moment of prayer at last night's congressional baseball game. But how long will the bipartisanship last?
Let's talk to the host of Justice, Judge Jeanine Pirro. She joins us live. Good morning to you, Judge.
Good morning.
It was great to see what happened last night as both sides came together. You know, so many people are saying it would be great if this lasted, but can it?
You know, I like nothing more than seeing Americans come together, and we rarely see that. We see it in times of war. We see it when something horrible like this happens. But, you know, the cynical side of me says, I'm not so sure this is going to last. But I differ from my friend Geraldo, who thought that, or said earlier that maybe it has to do with the investigations and all that. I think it stems from the top. I think when elected leaders, congresspeople, people we look up to, people that we vote for, say this president is not legitimate, when they say things like his cabinet, he and his cabinet, they're scumbags, when the resistance is a traitor, everything, but that the resistance is something we all have to do. Well, what does it mean when you resist? It means you fight. We're not resist, conjures up an image of something rather violent, and I don't even need to bring in Kathy Griffin, Shakespeare in the Park, which and we'll come up with. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But make no mistake, this is, and I prosecuted murder cases my whole career, this is a guy who is responsible. But it's not just a lunatic. This is a guy who is very focused on Republicans, very focused on Trump, very hateful, and his rhetoric was acceptable until the leaders come out and say, you know what I said was wrong. What I said was not appropriate. We respect the president. Until that happens, I don't suspect there's going to be change.
And this morning we've mentioned Ted Nugent on the conservative side saying, hey, I'm going to tone down my rhetoric because it's important that we all do that. You mentioned violence. Or the portrayal thereof. Shakespeare in the Park here in New York City, a violent portrayal of the killing, effectively, of our president. You hit the street to ask some people about that.
Yeah, well, you know, I was curious as to whether or not, in light of what's happened, whether or not people were still going to see Shakespeare in the Park, whether or not they actually liked the idea of a Julius Caesar Shakespeare play where the lookalike of Donald Trump is stabbed to death, red liquid comes out of him, he's repeatedly stabbed, and so I went to Central Park, and I saw people waiting in line, lines of people waiting, and I talked to them. What do you think about the play itself?
Yeah, I think they always try to push the envelope a little bit, and that's what they're doing.
The Donald Trump lookalike being stabbed to death. What do you think of that in light of what's going on today?
Well, I know it can be very controversial, but there are two sides to every story. It depends on your perspective. I think.
So you don't have a problem with this?
No, not at all.
Do you think it's appropriate they have a basic double of Donald Trump being stabbed to death?
Well, it doesn't matter to me. Trump is the president. I respect him.
If they did that to Hillary, would you be offended?
Yes. Hillary is the bomb.
I just came back from Central Park. Yeah. They're playing Shakespeare in the Park, Julius Caesar, where they have a Donald Trump lookalike, and they stab him to death. What do you think of that?
It's just tragic. It's sad that that's what our country is becoming in many ways, I feel.
I mean, what's going on now hasn't gone on ever in the political history. They're trying to assassinate this guy. Everything they're doing is to impeach him.
Complete hypocrisy. It's sick. And look what's happened now. It's encouraging violence against Republicans, shootings. It's going to be more of that.
Will you be waiting in line to see Shakespeare in the Park?
No.
No chance.
Two sides to every story. One of those
Isn't that amazing? And I went back at him. It wasn't in the clip. And I said, what do you mean two sides to every story? And he said, well, you know, the Republicans are just as responsible. They do things like that. I said, tell me, when have we held the president's head and, you know, when have we killed him, stabbed him? He couldn't come up with anything. Sure. This is an ideological split that is going to be very difficult to mend. And my concern is that the people who are not grounded, the lunatics out there who just want to kill somebody, are going to use this as an excuse and say, you know what, I'm justified in killing this person. He's not my president. Elijah Cummings, think about it. He comes out and says he's not a legitimate president. Well, what Constitution are you reading? And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, hopefully something good will happen and Steve Scalise will get better and, you know, we'll move on. But based on Shakespeare in the Park, after the shooting, I question.
Well, that's you asked that in the break. Is this really after the shooting?
Yes,
it was.
It was yesterday, and I said to them, in light of this shooting, do you still think it's appropriate? They waited in line. I couldn't walk
Unless
the
it was
length of the
Hillary,
line. Unless it was Hillary. It shows you the ideological
All right, we can
rift.
see more of that on your show
sure.
this weekend.
Tomorrow
All right.
night.
Good
We'll be
deal.
watching.
Thanks, Judge.
Thanks, Judge.